Some people love hiking and some people hate it. Personally, I don't really like it. I don't see the point of walking for miles and miles up and down mountains. You get all sweaty and out of breath. The worst thing is that the next day all your muscles ache. Of course, it'll rain, so you'll get soaking wet. If it's sunny, you'll get sunburn. To make things really bad, you might fall over and twist your ankle or get stung by a bee. I have terrible memories of hiking when I was a child. My parents always wanted to get to the top of the mountain, and then the next mountain top, and then the next. No matter how much we complained, they always said, "It's not far." Never believe anyone who says that, especially someone who loves hiking. I don't understand hip-hop. I think it's an age thing. Hip-hop came along just as I stopped buying music and going to clubs. I really don't understand it. Most of my friends aren't into it either. My sons are, they love it. They're into the fashion and the music, they never seem to stop dancing to it. When I went to America, I took them to an exhibition on hip-hop. It's an important part of America's culture now. It's also a unique aspect of America's cultural history. Many people thought hip-hop was a passing fashion, that something would replace it. The truth is quite different. Hip-hop has almost become mainstream. You know when that happens because everyone else in the world tries to copy it. Hip-hop is huge all over the world. My favorite subject at school was history. I don't know why. I loved reading the stories about famous people and famous events. When I was little, history was just stories. As I got older, I realized history is the study of how we got here today. It's a long journey that describes all the wars, great people, inventions, disasters, etc. that have brought us to this point in time. I now love any kind of history. It's fascinating to visit a new country and learn about its history. Watching the news today is like seeing history unfold. Lots of the things I learnt at school now make the news more interesting. History provides us with the perfect background information to a news story. I love holidays. They are the best thing in the world. The only problem is they are always too short. Even summer holidays at school aren't long enough. I recently had an 8-week holiday and it flew by. It seems as though time goes quickly when we are on holiday and slowly when we are at school or work. I always really look forward to holidays. Even one-day holidays are great. I live in a country that has many national holidays, so there's always a break around the corner. I feel sorry for some workers who only get 2 or 3 weeks holiday a year. They can't do anything or go anywhere. I love holidays even if I don't go away. Staying at home is just as good as going on holiday somewhere. Sometimes going on holiday is stressful. I think homeschooling is great. I wish my parents had done this. The idea of never going to school sounds too good to be true. I hated school. I wanted to stay at home every day. I really wouldn't have minded staying at home and studying. Of course, you need to be careful not to forget studying. One thing about homeschooling I like is visiting museums or watching documentaries to learn more. This is so much better than learning in school. I think my learning at school suffered because there were many kids who didn't want to learn. I could have got better marks if I had stayed at home. Perhaps there'll be more homeschooling in the future because of the internet. Homelessness is a terrible thing. It really shouldn't exist today. A country should be ashamed if anyone is homeless. Governments are so rich today, yet they have no money to provide basic needs for their citizens. This is rubbish. Think how much money governments waste on fancy cars and other unnecessary things. It's a crime. Even in rich countries, there are thousands of homeless. The government tries to sweep them under the carpet. They want to pretend the problem doesn't exist. The world's richest countries spend billions of dollars on weapons, but can't make sure people have a roof over their head. This is disgusting. All world leaders should be ashamed of themselves. I feel so sorry for the homeless. Home is where the heart is. That's so true. I've lived in many different houses during my life, but not all of them have been home. When you are growing up, home is where your family lives. I left home when I was 18 and slowly my childhood home was no longer. Now it's my parents' house and not my home. I moved around a lot and only spent a year or so in most places I lived. They never really felt like home. A home is somewhere you feel totally relaxed and want to come home to. The expression home sweet home is also true. You have to have nice feelings about it to call it home. Home doesn't have to be in your home country. I've lived in several countries and have had a home in all of them. I totally do not believe in horoscopes. I can't think of anything more ridiculous. Perhaps the only thing more ridiculous is the number of people who read their horoscopes and believe what they say. I mean, just how can a horoscope be true? How is it that the same things are true for 500 million people born between January 23 and February 22? It makes no sense. Not all of those people will be lucky in love and have a nice financial surprise at the beginning of the month. Horoscopes are a part of many cultures. Every time I go to another country, I see the horoscope in magazines. I have a friend who has the same star sign as me. Our lives and fortunes are very different. That proves to me that horoscopes are rubbish. I don't really like hospitals. I have many bad memories of them. I've stayed in hospital 7 times in my life. I guess I must be unlucky. My friends all say I'm accident prone. My longest stay in hospital was for 3 months. That was boring. I had lots of visitors, but staying in bed for that length of time isn't much fun. The worst thing was hospital food. I couldn't wait to get out and have some real food. The strange thing is that I really like watching TV dramas and movies about hospitals. It feels like I know everything that's going on. I wouldn't like to work in a hospital though. I hate the smell and the sight of blood. I'll do my best from now on to stay away from hospitals unless I'm visiting someone else. All houses are unique. Even if they look the same from the outside, they are very different on the inside. I think houses are very interesting. I like looking at the way they are built and the style they are built in. In London, there are many houses that are hundreds of years old. These are beautiful. You can still see much of the original wood and stone structure. Modern houses are also interesting. It's funny how they copy many of the features of older houses. I love looking at houses when I travel. Every country has its own special designs, from Japan to Arabia to Greece. Nowadays, people are building eco-friendly houses. They want houses that save energy and help protect the planet. I think being a housewife is a very demanding job. Most housewives have a lot to do, especially if they have children. Of course, some have an easy time because they have a maid or a tiny house. Most housewives, though, are working pretty much from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed. They have to get up the earliest to cook everyone's breakfast. Then they have to do the dishes, start the washing, iron, and then go shopping to buy the food. Before their children go to school, the housewife has to make their packed lunches. I reckon cooking 3 meals a day every single day can be pretty tiring. Afternoons are just as busy, and then it all starts again when everyone comes home from school and work. I think human rights only became an issue after World War II. That's when the United Nations issued their Universal Declaration on Human Rights. This is kind of the rulebook, the do's and don'ts of human rights. When I look at the world today, it seems not many people have read this. I doubt if most people know it exists. I think government leaders should know about this. A lot of them don't care much about human rights. I can't believe it's the 21st century and human rights is still an issue in pretty much all of the world's countries. The most powerful countries even attack each other for abusing human rights. I hope one day that all human rights are respected. That will be paradise. I think humor is one of the best things in life. Without it, nothing in life would be funny. It's strange how we start laughing from such a young age. I wonder what makes tiny Barbies laugh. What do they find funny? Barbies laugh and smile all the time. This means we are born to laugh and make other people laugh. Our sense of humor develops as we grow up. Some people become very good at telling jokes. I always find it difficult to remember jokes. I don't understand jokes from other countries. I love comedy shows from England, but I can't see what's funny when I watch American comedies. I guess humor is different, even with people who speak the same language. Anyway, I think I have a good sense of humor and I like a good laugh. Love makes the world go round, not money. I agree with the centuries-old quote that says, "Love conquers all." It's true when you think about it. So much has been written about love, it must be one of the most written and talked about topics ever. How many songs and poems are there about love? Millions, billions, perhaps. Love is everywhere. You can't pass a single day without hearing someone say love. It is one of the most beautiful words in any language. Your heart can melt when someone says, "I love you." It's also very important to tell people you love them. You should do it every day. There are many different kinds of love and they are all important, except perhaps when you love pizza or burgers. That's not healthy. I'm not sure what to think about identity cards. There are good and bad things about them. I think on the whole they are a good thing. It depends on what the government uses the information for. It also depends on how secure the database is that keeps our information. A lot of people think ID cards are too much. They think the government is trying to control us too much. I'm not sure that's true, but it is something to think about. In this day and age, when immigration is a problem, I think ID cards might be useful. Some countries are using ID cards as a one-stop card for everything. The card is your driving license, medical card, and ID all rolled into one. That's a great idea. All we need now is to make it a passport and credit card. Immigration wasn't really a problem a long time ago. Many countries welcomed immigrants because they needed workers. The USA, Australia, and Canada encouraged millions of people to come and live in their countries. Today, however, immigration is becoming a problem. Many countries are trying to control immigration. At election time, it is a major issue. Immigration today is big business. More and more people from poor countries want to live in rich countries. It is easier to travel nowadays because of cheap transport and more open borders. People risk their lives to get the chance of starting a new life in a rich country. This can cause anger in the countries immigrants go to. It is an issue that will be with us forever, I think. Inflation seems to be a big issue at the moment. Every time I turn on the news, there is a story about inflation. Many countries around the world are fighting to keep inflation under control. Sometimes you read about countries that lose the battle against inflation. Zimbabwe once had an inflation rate of trillions of percent. I can't imagine trying to add up my shopping bill with so many zeros. I have no idea how they brought it under control. Inflation in my country is okay at the moment. The government is worried about prices going up. Me too. Inflation seems to be the thing economists worry about most. They do everything they can to keep the rate of inflation low. It has been pretty stable for years now. We are living in an age of information. That's what I keep hearing on TV and reading in newspapers. We are surrounded by information technology that puts information at our fingertips. To get ahead, you need the latest information. I'm not really sure how much information we need. Our brains can only handle a certain amount of information at a time. I reckon a lot of us have information overload. I'm sure before computers came along this didn't happen. One problem with computers is the amount of personal information online. I worry about putting confidential info on different websites. Of course, the great thing about computers is that we have so much information at our disposal. That's pretty useful. Some people love insects and others absolutely hate them. I can't count how many of my friends are terrified of insects. I have one friend who jumps and screams at the sight of the tiniest bug. He's over 40 years old. My son loves insects. He has many books on them and knows everything about them. He loves going to insect museums and watching nature documentaries on insects. I also love them. I think insects are fascinating. I can watch them for hours. I also love looking at them in zoos and museums. It's like looking at a tiny miniature world. I think if I was insect-sized, life would be pretty scary. Or even worse, what if one day there were giant insects roaming the streets? That's the stuff of horror movies. People say intelligence is a lot more attractive than beauty. I often ask people if they would prefer a partner who is intelligent or good-looking. They almost always say they want someone who is intelligent. I wonder why it is some of us are so intelligent and others are. Surely we are all born with a similar level of intelligence. I'm not really sure how intelligent I am. Sometimes I think I'm intelligent, but then I do something really dumb. Or I meet someone who is super brainy who makes me feel unintelligent. One day, I'm going to take one of those intelligence tests to measure my IQ. Another thing I don't get about intelligence is how people think our leaders are so intelligent, but then the leaders do such stupid things. Do intelligent people start wars? I think the internet is the greatest invention ever. Think how it has changed the world. So much information is out there. It has totally changed my life. I can chat with friends, download music, buy books and get all the info I need for my homework. It took days or weeks to do any of these things before the internet. I spend hours every day online. I think I spend a little too long. I'm sure staring at a computer screen all day isn't good for my eyes. I think it's also making me fat. I need to exercise a little more. The only thing I don't like about the internet is that it can be dangerous. I don't really like putting my personal information online, especially on social networking sites like Facebook. I'm totally hopeless with money. I've never really understood things like investments. I should be more interested in investments because I know I'll get more money. I find everything very confusing. I never know what to invest in. Some of my friends invest in stocks and shares. I never did this. I'm happy because I didn't lose money in the financial crash. I think it would be interesting to invest in things like wine. I saw a TV program once. Wine goes up and up and up in price. You really can make a lot of money. I think investing in property nowadays is risky. I also know a lot of people who now owe lots of money on the house they bought because the prices crashed. Perhaps it's better to keep my money under the bed. I think jewelry is stupid. What's the point? I can understand it was popular a couple of thousand years ago, but not today. It all belongs to when we lived in caves. Why do people feel the need to wear necklaces and bracelets? It seems that jewelry is becoming more and more popular. Nowadays people are wearing rings on their toes and piercing their tongues and bodies. I've never really understood why men wear jewelry, especially thick gold chains. A lot of jewelry is dangerous. I often think if earrings catch on something, they'll rip your ears. Some rings that women wear are also dangerous. They could cause serious damage to someone's face. The only jewelry I wear is a wedding ring, just a simple one. Job interviews are always hit and miss for me. Sometimes I have a great interview and get the job. Other times my interview bombs and I don't get the job. It's really important to prepare. You must also be confident and make sure the interviewer knows you really want the job. The trick is to make the interviewer think you are the best person for the job. I always wear my best suit and arrive early. I always smile when I walk into the interview room. First impressions are very important. It's also a good idea to talk about your experiences, sell yourself. Make sure you have a few good questions to ask at the end of the interview. Interview technique is something we learn over time. You get to relax more the more interviews you have. Love jokes. I could listen to people telling jokes all day. I laugh at even the silliest of jokes. In fact, I love silly jokes. I still laugh at the jokes I laughed at when I was a child. I'm not so good at telling jokes. I have just a few of my favorite ones that I tell. They're pretty funny. I think telling jokes is a real skill. You need confidence, timing, and you need to know when to deliver the punch line. Some of my jokes don't work with people from other countries. They don't get them. It's also interesting to see how American and British jokes are different. I listen to American comedians but can't see what's funny. I also love practical jokes. Playing jokes on other people is very funny, as long as they see the funny side. When I was younger, I wanted to be a journalist. I used to watch the news and think how amazing it would be to report from places around the world. I think journalism is a pretty tough profession. You really need a special character to survive. I think journalism is one of the most important professions in the world. Without it, we wouldn't know anything about what's going on in the world. It can also be a dangerous profession. Of course, reporting in war zones is dangerous, but even reporting in the street carries risk. I'm sure many journalists have many experiences of angry people they try to interview, or even of other journalists who get angry. When I watch journalism award shows, I still feel a desire to become a journalist. Everybody loves juice. It's the yummiest thing in the world. I can't think of anything tastier than a cold glass of any kind of juice. I have to have a glass of orange juice every morning. I like to spend a little extra to make sure it's 100% juice. I don't really like the stuff that says it's juice on the box, but is really 70% water and sugar. Of course, freshly squeezed juice is the best. You can really taste the fruit. One thing I love about going to another country is trying different kinds of juice. Tropical countries have all kinds of really delicious juice. One time I remember trying sugarcane juice. I was in heaven. It's a shame I can't buy it where I live. I also love coconut juice, or is that coconut milk? I hate junk mail. I'm sick and tired of it filling up my inbox. I mean, who believes the stuff written in it? I love the ones that start with dearest, and then tell you how their uncle died during some war and they need your help to transfer $18 million. I wonder how many people fall for those. My spam mail filters do a pretty good job at keeping junk mail away from my inbox, but I occasionally get a mail trying to sell me medicine. The most dangerous kind of junk mail is called phishing. That's when a criminal fakes an email to make it look like it's sent from a bank. It looks exactly the same as a bank's mail. The mail asks you to reset your password. The criminal then takes your money. If you think about it, kissing is strange. I mean, here we are in the 21st century and we still like kissing. I think we're the only species on Earth that does this. Of course, there are different kinds of kissing. Kissing your parents or friends as a greeting is normal enough. That's just like a friendly handshake. Passionate kissing is different. I'm not complaining though. I think kissing is great. I remember my first kiss. It was very exciting. I was nervous though because I kept thinking if I was doing it right. Some people say there is an art to kissing. I'm not so sure. If you love someone enough, you'll be artistic enough. One thing I don't like about kissing is people who do it next to you on the train or bus. Yuck. I really want to have more knowledge. My general knowledge is pretty good, but I want it to be better. When I was a kid, I loved quiz programs on the television. I used to read lots of encyclopedias to build up my knowledge. I now know most of the world's capitals and which animals and birds are the fastest, and how many bones there are in the human body, etc. I love watching the news, and this helps me get more knowledge. Even though I think I know quite a lot, I always meet people who are really knowledgeable. It seems some people know everything about everything. They are just like walking encyclopedias. I wonder if they're happy with the amount of knowledge they have inside their brain. Laughter is what makes the world go round. If you can't laugh, life would be very boring and depressing. The sound of laughter is one of the most beautiful sounds in the world. Just hearing it makes me smile and want to laugh too. I have to find out what's funny so I can share the joke or share the fun. I particularly love the sound of small children laughing. Their laughter is infectious. It's amazing the things they find to laugh about. I think I heard somewhere that laughter is the best medicine. That's so true. I also think a good laugh keeps you healthy. A few people I know belong to a laughter club. They stand around in circles and laugh. Yes, laughter really is one of the best things we do. Where would we be without language? We'd all be in our own worlds and we'd never really have a life. Can you imagine never talking to anyone? Of course, if there was no language, we wouldn't be able to use body language or sign language. The fact that we do have languages means we have gone to the moon and built things like the internet, which also needs a special computer language to work properly. I think language is amazing. It means we can tell anyone anything. I often think it's a shame there are so many languages in the world. If there was only one language, we could all communicate better. Perhaps that way we'd all understand one another better. What would the world language be? At the moment, English. Without laws, the world would end. Okay, maybe the actual Earth might not end, but life as we know it would end. We'd all end up fighting and killing each other. It would become the survival of the strongest, or perhaps the survival of the nastiest. If there were no laws, people could do anything. There'd be no police or courts to keep control. Law is very important. It keeps order in our society. Our laws started thousands of years ago. Many of today's laws were made centuries ago. New laws need to be made every day. Especially in today's world where the internet is so important. It's very difficult to keep laws up to date with new developments. The latest area of law is intellectual property. It's important that people's ideas are protected. Leadership is a word we hear a lot nowadays. Every time we turn on the news, we hear about how important leadership is, especially strong leadership. American presidents often talk about the importance of leadership. I suppose they're right. It's important that someone takes responsibility and shows leadership. With the right leaders, we can achieve success, but not every leader shows leadership. In many countries around the world, there are corrupt leaders. They do not have good leadership skills, they simply control people by fear. Good leadership is being respected by everyone and getting the job done. It's important to have good leadership in companies too, except many of the bank's leaders have not shown such good leadership. Learning is one of the most important things we do in life. It starts pretty much when we're born. In fact, many scientists say learning begins earlier. We listen to the outside sounds. This is when we first start learning a language. Our ears get used to the different patterns of intonation. Learning is a lifelong process. We spend our childhood years doing nothing but learning. We learn a language before we are 2. We learn how to play and do all the everyday things people do. Most people think learning only begins at school. I'm not sure about this. Are we really learning, or are we just memorizing things? I think a lot of learning happens outside school. We learn more from our hobbies and interests than what we learn from school books. Libraries are wonderful places. Every library I've been to in the world is the same. They all have a special atmosphere. A room with a large collection of books does things to people. We become very quiet and want to know what's on the shelves. This happens even to children as young as 3, although perhaps not the being quiet. It's amazing to watch a small child in a library looking at all the books. They can sit there for hours pulling the books off the shelves. I really spent a lot of time in the library at university. It was where I spent most of my time. This is where I really learnt how useful libraries are. I spent hours every day looking at journals, newspapers, and textbooks. I felt quite happy sitting in the quiet of the library, reading my books. I wonder if there is anyone in the world who never lies. Not even a small white lie. It seems everyone lies at some point in their life or their day. Some people are better liars than others. In fact, I often read lying is an art. Children are pretty good at lying. Or perhaps they're pretty bad because it's easy to tell when a child is lying. I read that the more lies children tell, the more intelligent they are. You need to be creative and imaginative to lie. There comes a stage in our lives when most of us stop lying. We are all told that it's always better to tell the truth. Not all of us do this though. There are many very intelligent people who lie. We even trust them to run our country. I've lost count of the number of politicians who have been caught lying. Life is for living, that's what I believe. It sounds very simple, but actually it's quite difficult. You only have one life, so you really have to live it. Don't waste time doing boring things. Live life for today. Is living working in an office all your life? No, take some risks in life. Invest in your life and do the things you really want to do. If you don't try and live your dreams, you don't really live. I often hear people saying to others, get a life. I agree with them. Don't wait and let life pass you by. Life is too short and you can't go back. I have a full life. I don't live life in the fast lane, but I do make sure I do things so that when I look back on my life, I won't have any regrets. Everyone wants a good lifestyle. I do too. I want a good job that is quite near my house. I don't want to spend a long time on trains and buses. I also want a nice house where I can relax. I like decorating and shopping for furniture. I also want lots of friends so I can do stuff with them. My idea of a good lifestyle is being happy at work, going to the gym or going out for a meal after work, and spending the weekends with friends doing things or going places. Of course, I have to have a holiday every year in another country. I haven't got that lifestyle yet because I haven't got enough money. I'm a little jealous of my friend's lifestyle. She has everything and is always going out and having fun. Listening is the easiest English skill for me. I can understand about half of what people say to me. This means I can guess the things I don't understand. Listening to the English of my American friends is not so difficult. I have problems when I try and understand the news on television. I also find movies hard to follow. I need the subtitles at the bottom of the screen. I think listening to songs in English made my listening better. It's a lot more interesting than my listening CDs. I have one piece of advice for students who want to improve their listening. That is to listen to the same thing again and again. You understand more every time you listen. What's your advice? Literature is one thing that makes me very happy. I have loved books of all kinds since I was very small. I don't know what I would do in life without novels, poems, and plays. It's amazing how literature can change your life. It educates you, makes you happy, makes you sad, inspires you, and so much more. I think I'd be a completely different person without it. Literature has been a big influence on my life, perhaps as much as my friends. I think literature is really powerful. It can help us understand other cultures. Recently, I have read a lot of Indian literature, in English, of course. The books I read have totally changed my image of India and Indians. My experience has really made me want to read more books from other countries. Love is the most important thing in the world. We all need to love and be loved. Love is the glue that makes us one big happy family. It is perhaps the most powerful emotion we feel. It is certainly the one that makes us happiest. Falling in love has to be the greatest feeling ever. It is also the one that makes us saddest. When we lose someone we love, it can take forever to get over. Sometimes we never get over it. You can fall in love in an instant. We use the expression fall in love at first sight for this. We can also be head over heels in love, which is a strange expression. We don't just love each other. We can love cars, chocolate, holidays, singing in the rain, anything. And of course, you can also love studying English. Love is a wonderful thing, but is it possible to fall in love with someone at first sight? Many people say they have done this. How can it be possible? Surely it takes a time to get to know someone and then fall in love. I think falling in love at first sight is dangerous. You don't really know the person. Maybe after you've built your life around them, you'll find lots of faults in them and suddenly be disappointed. Then you'll have to fall out of love. Anyway, is it really love at first sight, or is it love at first conversation? And what if the other person doesn't fall in love with you at first sight? This could be a bit painful. It could also be embarrassing. I think I like the traditional way of falling in love after 257 dates.